Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range. I know this is not actually a Martini sniper rifle. Now, there's been a myth that's been created due to Battlefield 1, the video game, that Martini Henry sniper rifles were used in World War I. Not true, complete Neofuddlore, let's forget about it. However, this is legitimately a Martini, but not a Martini Henry, with a scope on it. So, this is a Swiss Bubba conversion of a Martini Stutzer target rifle to a hunting configuration. They're known here as Jagdstutzer, hunting Stutzers. And to sort of go back in the day, Martini-based target rifles, Stutzer, were the sort of premier target rifles used for the sort of civilian open shooting competitions. So the competitions used where you're not using military rifles, and it was, 300 meters was even in the Olympics. And something that I don't quite understand is why they're called Stutzers, because Stutzer means supported, but they were shot mostly standing off hand, mostly. Now, Switzerland had loads of manufacturers, loads of individual gunsmiths who made these things up, and they come in so many different configurations. It's quite amazing. And they sort of came in the Vetterli era, so 1870s onwards. So we find them in 10.4mm rimfire for the Vetterli cartridge. We then find them in 7.5mm GP90, which is the Schmidt-Rubin 1889 caliber. And then once GP11 comes in, we find them chambered for GP11. And this is one of them. And I've been looking around for ages for one in GP11 in almost any configuration with a relatively straight butt, because a lot of them are very much following the ergonomic thoughts and fashions of their era. So while we have this terrible scroll work on the lever here, I'll put a few photos up, but the butt shapes and butt hooks and things can get quite elaborate and quite specific to shooting in a single position, specifically standing. So the butts often drop an awful lot, and there's these big hooks and things which make it useless for shooting prone like we do today. You usually find them with an open rear sight until the UIT, what is now ISSF 300-meter rules changed and started to allow aperture sights. So you also find them sometimes with an aperture on the back instead. And I'll show you the details over at the table in a moment, but I find it absolutely fascinating. And then they started to die off from probably the 40s onwards, when the bolt action became dominant, and these things went vastly out of favour. And this one's quite interesting because it, as I said, it started life as a target Stutzer. But it has a fairly straight butt on it, and I think it's rather interesting. So let's take it over to the table and have a look. Okay, so this is an extremely heavy beast. It is also very long, but it has been cut down from what it was before. And pretty much all of the Martini Stutzers, no matter who built them, seem to have basically the same configuration of the receiver and then the barrel, which is this great big octagonal thing, and then fluted on the second half. There are variations, but you see an awful lot with these barrels. And what seems to be the case is that the individual gunsmiths will have bought in the barrels and the receivers, or even barrel receivers from somewhere, and put them together. So as this would have been originally, you can see the base for the rear sight there, and then up at this end you can see where it's been cut off because the fluting's ended. Normally the muzzle is plain. There's another that much on them, and this for a hunting rifle is incredibly heavy. So as usual with the Martini, it is a two-part stock, and the fore end is keyed onto a lug brazed onto the bottom, kind of old muzzle loader style, and you can push that out and take the fore end off. And the barrel is over an inch thick. It's quite impressive. And then down here, as I said, this one has a pretty straight butt, which is quite unusual. Although a lot of the ones that were built from the ground up as a Jagdstutzer, lighter barrel usually, possibly, they tend to have this, but this, we can see that this was a target rifle before because of the full length barrel and the well, cut down originally full length barrel and the sight on it. And then here we have a rubber butt cap and a stock extension from whoever did the conversion. And once these went out of favour for target shooting, they were basically cheap as almost free on the market, so they made a good conversion. And this will have been done, this is possibly 70s, because it's got a Tasco 4-12 by 40 scope on it, on a mount that is brazed on a little rail that's brazed onto the barrel. And you can see, if I zoom in, you can see the brass braze there. Now this particular mount is interesting because it is a zeroable, it is an adjustable mount. You can adjust it for windage and tilt it a bit for elevation, but you've got to take the scope off. Just by unscrewing these and taking it off doesn't work. I think you've got to disassemble the whole thing, take the scope off, undo the set screws to get it off. I haven't done that. Now the action is classic Martini, so we have the lever, we have a double set trigger. So what we can do is we can just directly pull the front trigger for a fairly heavy trigger pull. We can set the trigger and have a ridiculously light trigger pull, and that is as heavy as it is set, and it's adjustable with that little screw there. I've backed that all the way out because when I got this, if you even thought about it, it went off, and I find that deeply disturbing when I shoot. I grew up with shooting with 1.5 kilo and up rifle triggers, so for me that's kind of not fun. And actually I shot better with the heavy bit in an earlier video, which I'll put a link to in the description. Now if we move over to the action, it is classic, just like a Martini Henry. We have, oh, it's difficult with the scope. We have a chute that we can put a cartridge in. This is a dummy, of course. I'm going to shoot it, and then it pops out. And with the scope in the way, it is not ideal. But a lot of people have asked the question of how it worked, how this kind of extractor, which you can see in there, when I pull the lever back, you can see that this part here, the extractor and ejector, pops backwards and flips it out. And it's a fair assumption that this should only work with rimmed ammo, but actually you can just see, and it's very difficult to get the light in. So the system's set up that when we put the rimless cartridge in, it should rest against the extractor like that, and then when we close the breech it'll cam it forward and then pop it out. But actually, even if we push it beyond so that it's all the way in, when we close the lever, close the breech, there's enough play that the extractor gets down into the groove like that. And this was patented by Edouard Rubin of Schmidt-Rubin fame and various types of ammunition fame in 1889. So one of the very first Swiss patents under 1,000. So while I've got the dummy firmly in the breech there, you can see that you've got basically insanely good case head support. Like right, I mean, that is basically flush, or yeah, basically flush with the base of with the back of the barrel. And there's an interesting document in the Swiss Federal Archives, which this is complete fascinating anecdote stuff. There'd been some breech explosion incidents with the 1911 series, and then there'd been a breech explosion of one of these at a cantonal Schützenfest, and there's someone asks in Parliament, given that this is so much of a safer system in terms of breech explosions, why the army is not equipped with these rather than the 6-shot rapid fire repeating straight pull bolt action 1911 series. And it's a very slightly sarcastic response as to basically obvious reason is obvious. And well, I thought that was pretty interesting. So a couple of little invisible things. So the target shooting ones are all in 10.4 Vetterli, or the two flavors of 7.5, so GP90 for the 1889 rifles, or GP11 for the 1911 series. There are also ones that were built as Jagdstutzer, as hunting rifles, and they might be in 10.3 by 60R or other more exotic hunting cartridges. The GP11 ones are distinguishable from the GP90 7.5s, not only by looking at the rifling profile and the chamber profile and the throat profile and everything, but this is hidden by the rail that's been brazed on here. But on top of the barrel here, there'll be an oval with an 11 on it that distinguishes. Target shooting wise, if I remember rightly, they were mostly limited to the military calibers, and plus it was provided at ranges and subsidised, so there was no reason to have any other form of cartridge for target shooting, really. But yeah, each canton has weird hunting laws, which is why 10.3 by 60R is still an available, relatively exotic but fairly normal here cartridge. They're just hideously expensive, but there you go. So there's not much to report on the left side of the receiver. It's just the opposite ends of the pins on the right that are the axis pins for the lever, for the breech block, for the ejector / extractor. And yeah, this particular one was put together by Charles Eyre of Vevey in Canton Vaud, which is French-speaking Switzerland. And I think it's rather a lot of fun. And I don't know when this video is going to be launched, but by the time you see it, I may have competed in the single shot division in the Cabin Fever Challenge with it, or maybe not, but there you go. There now follows a brief public service announcement. If you're watching this video on YouTube, wouldn't it be great if there was somewhere on the internet regrouping the best gun nerd content in one place, free of demonetizations and insta-bans, and enabling you to watch it either on desktop or on most major platforms including Apple, Android, Roku and Amazon Fire? Well, now there is. Go to weaponsandwar.tv and sign up for $9.99 a month or $99 a year to enjoy and support the work of all these great channels in one convenient package with cross-channel collections, feature weeks and other cool features you won't find elsewhere, and better video quality. There may even be a discount code for the monthly subscription active right now. Check the main page of weaponsandwar.tv to find out. If that's not for you, the traditional options of Patreon and Player are of course still open, links in the description, and we're always grateful for a like, a subscribe and a salty comment to feed the algorithm. Many thanks for your support in whatever form it may be. Now, back at the plot. So thank you very much if you've watched this far. Thank you so much to our supporters on Patreon, Player and the app, which enable us to keep chugging along still. If you haven't supported us already, please consider doing so. It really helps keep the channel alive, and if not, that's fine. Please like, subscribe, leave a salty comment as usual, and see you again sometime. Bye.